World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
"30 years, a staple of the Australian calendar." This is a track which fills all of the boundaries, fills all of the norms of what Australian racing is all about. It's got tight and technical sections, places to go make overtakes, some truly unforgettable memories, and for well over 30 years, the place to be when action's gone on. Of course, this track is a little reduced from a Formula behemoth which span its way throughout a long Brabham Straight for abilities to attack, but you'd say that this version, the V8 supercar layout, is one which, quite honestly, can challenge any vehicle and any driver to the very best of its abilities. 14 turns as we race around the King Rodney Park. This is the Adelaide Street Circuit, unfortunately removed from 2021's circle of racing, but for 2021, this year, it's going to be with us with World Pro Racing, your third round of your Alpine GT4 Championship, brought to you on YouTube, Facebook Live, and on Twitch, as well as motorsport.tv, as well as words, you completely flubbed everything right now, as well as, of course, TVM Sports and ESTVD Sports Television Network. I'm Jake Sperry, joined alongside here with Alex Goldschmidt. Alex, of course, not a seamless start for me, but it's going to be seamless for these drivers here today. They know that they're going to be pushed up right to the very limit of the action we've got moving forward. It's a street circuit, the only one on the calendar. That means margins are that much finer.
Yeah, and if you find the wall, especially going through turn 8, you could, as the Aussies would say, come a bit of a cropper, mate. But to be honest with you, it's the home of the Clipsal 500. Still steeped in Australian racing to this very day. It's going to be tight, it's going to be technical, there's going to be limited opportunities for overtaking, and it is about how you get on in qualifying tonight, Jake. That is what's going to be the key factor that contributes to whoever wins round 3 of the season.
Absolutely, it's going to be one of these very key factors. This is also going to be a tough track to manufacture some moves. You'll be looking at the De Queteville hairpin as the best place to go out and get that. Or if failing that, Foster's Corner at the end of the lap is one of the better places. Maybe at Wakefield, turn number 4 out there on track might be a place where drivers think they can really make something happen. And just look how committed they have to be through the Senna S to start the lap. Really a track which demands respect from the word go, and there are many corners on this circuit, although it does have this weaving through the traditional US style street circuit, the 90-degree lefts and 90-degree rights. Some people don't like it, some people love it. It has a certain flow to it, but it's when you come out of this section here, out of Hutt Street, onto Bartles Road, and it's that next corner coming up, turn 8. I think of it as a more, I would say, scarier to back, you would say, at the likes of Monaco. This is a really committed corner. One wrong move inside or outside, that's it. It's day done, Alex.
It is indeed. I mean, you take too much curve. If you accidentally glance the wall going through turn 8, that will actually pinball ricochet you onto the other side, and you'll have one very full-on and one very damaged Alpine A110 GT4. Track temperatures, though, will probably mean that the drivers might have to keep their eye on degradation here, Jake. 29 degrees track temperature, only 14 degrees ambient air, but at the moment, Alessio Spinelli is currently leading the timesheets on a 1 minute 24.375, 3/10 ahead of Alex Trehorn.
Bit chilly then today here for Australian standards. Of course, they are moving over into winter over there, so no surprises. But through in towards the final corners, we do need to talk at this stage into practice about weight penalties and, of course, the ballast system that is in the racing that we've got here today. Of course, every driver who picks up a good run and gets a podium finish gets themselves 9, 6 and 3 kilograms of ballast, depending on where they finish. And it's not a ballast that goes away after you fail to finish on the podium. It stays with you for the entirety of the season. It's that pinning back that you're seeing time and again as we continue forward. Vance Lagarde currently 3rd position at the moment here in practice at this stage. But what you'd say here maybe, Alex, is that drivers like Spinelli and Trehorn are going to be ones who will be struggling a little bit more now we get into the mid towards the end part of the season, as they'll be fighting more and more with drivers around them due to that penalty of ballast.
Yep, Alessio Spinelli comes in with 15 kilos of ballast. Alex Trehorn, who's just under 7/10 of a second adrift in this free practice session. And there is the number 15. He's got 12 kilos. Pedro Cruz Gomez, who finished in second position at the opening round at Kyalami and had a dismal race to forget last time out at Portimao. He's got 6 kilos. And Alex Goncalves, who rounds out the top 3 overall in the standings and is currently at the moment 9th on the road, 2.2 seconds off of Spinelli's howitzer of a time, with a 1 minute 23.992. As there's that's one place that you definitely do not want to have a moment, and that looked to be possibly Casey Lagarde, I think, judging by the pink fluorescent wing mirrors on that Alpine.
Yeah, not ideal at all. There, turn 4, Wakefield corner. That's right at the start of the very tight and technical section as you go from Wakefield to East Terrace. And of course, you got Flinders Street, where that very famous moment happened between the likes of Michael Schumacher and co. as they went through Damon Hill. Of course, who can forget 1994? That's a big hit there. And that is just an emphasis of what happens if you get it wrong. Over there at turn number 8, it is a committed corner. You've got all the load going through the car as you go through that section, and at some point the car will need to unload. If it unloads into a barrier, so be it. You are going up and you are going over through that section, even in GT4s.
Yeah, the good thing about this circuit here at Adelaide, Jake, I mean, we're seeing it from Alessio Spinelli, who is literally saying to the rest of the field, look guys, you've got served. I mean, I'm nearly 7/10 quicker on a lap here in free practice, and he's got 15 kilos of ballast. The first part of it, going through the centre chicane, you've really got to measure that and nigh on straight line it, but not exceed track limits, because straight away you could be at the behest of the system software here on the R Factor 2 platform. Now into the left-hander that goes into Flinders Street before another a double 90 right through Hutt Street before Bartels, and you can just see how tight and committed Spinelli is going through each of those respective corners. And down Bartels Road here, going in towards turn 8, you can really pick up a good amount of momentum, but you don't want to pick up too much, because that could really cause problems when you carry the speed through going through turn 8. Now down the Brabham Straight before the De Ketterville hairpin, and you've really got to be precise all the way down to first gear, nigh on right hand down there as we ride on board with Spinelli. But he's kept it rather clean and consistent. Not too sure if this is going to better his previous lap time, his best lap time of a 123.992, but it looks rather slick. And as they say, if it looks like it's slow, the driver's going fast.
Well, he is half a second down on time at this moment on this lap, and crossing that is a 24.8. So unfortunately it may have looked slow, maybe because it was actually slow by Spinelli standards, which is also the other caveat to that. Sometimes it's slow because it is at this moment on track. But you now start to figure out elements of this circuit. What makes this circuit difficult to go out there and drive? Yes, it's got very committed corners, but one thing that isn't really talked about here at Adelaide is the curbs around this place. Now, everything here in the Victoria Park, which is from about turn, I would say, 11 over towards turn 2, that's there as a fixture all year round. Anything else is more nailed in as you go on through certain corners. You don't naturally have these curbs because they're public roads as they go through. It's really evident as they head out of Hutt Street onto Bartels Road. You'll see it next. Here's one of them. You go over that curb on the right hand side, and it's very, very easy to unsettle the car over what is not the smallest of curbs in the world.
No, that's probably one of the highest curbs that I think I've ever seen in motorsport, and obviously with the way that you see all the road markings here at Adelaide, even seeing the signs saying for right, you need to get into this lane for turning right, whereas you're actually going the opposite direction around the circuit here at Adelaide. Silver Pinmets now jumps up into P5, just under a second off of Spinelli, as literally going flying over those curves, and Pinmets hits the barriers after setting a personal best.
Yeah, no real worries about that. There's João Carapo looking to improve on 8th position here in practice at this moment in time, on the brakes down towards that De Quetterville hairpin, and is deciding that he wants to go to the next roundabout there in terms of his run through Adelaide and get himself moving on forward back to the pit. And really, this is a very unique circuit in terms of its geography and its layout. Adelaide itself, a very unique city. It's got an inner sanctum, you would say, which is surrounded by a lot of parkland, the city centre, and this is part of that parkland which surrounds it very much in a square or a circle, you would put at this moment in time. We are in the more southeasterly part then of Adelaide as we push on forward in comparison to the centre of the city. But you look at this place, and really I don't think there is any circuit like it out there, Alex, which you can really go out there and say that you are racing through a park and a fixture that is there all the time. Yes, you can maybe argue Battersea, but outside of that, where are you actually racing at a permanent fixture, which absolutely everything just stays in place and looks like it's not missed a beat?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that sentiment there, Jake, because Adelaide, it is a true treasure, not just in Australian motorsport, but it has its global ties within Formula One, obviously, as you mentioned earlier, with that iconic moment between Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill back in '94. But yeah, I mean, it's a true test of any driver, and to be honest with you, they'll all the adrenaline will be spiking through the roof, and the sweat glands will be working in overdrive, not just after free practice, but after the qualifying session, and also a 30-minute sprint race. And the most important thing is to not get things wrong, as Darrell Russell gets a bit tail happy there, going through Wakefield Corner, I believe, and the back end trying to step out again. So these mid-engined rear-wheel drive cars can be a little bit of a handful if you push them to the limits of not just adhesion, but also of the track limits surrounding you, which just so happens to be a few concrete walls.
It certainly does, and that's what makes things very difficult. There is Silver Piamet moving up then into 4th position now here in practice. First start of the season for Piamet out there, and will be looking to try and make a good account then for himself as he makes that charge on through. Vaya Gonzalez moving up then to P5 in practice for the time being. Of course, practice, you don't get any points for the effort you put in, but you're sort of just setting down, okay, I'm getting into the groove, I'm understanding how this circuit works, and if I need to, maybe I can push the boundaries a bit and see just how fast I can really go out there over the efforts that we have moving forward right now. But you are going to start to see drivers look to try and put together all of the points available on this right now. It's 8 points the gap at the top of the championship between Spinelli and Trehorn right now. Of course, Trehorn actually scored better with his victory than Alessio Spinelli by a solitary point with 43 points at Portimao. But you would say at this stage, it's far from over here in this championship. You've got Goncalves 3rd in the championship. Andy Birch has quietly been getting on with business. 4th position overall in the championship. 8th currently at this moment in time. But crucially, with that 4th place in the championship right now, Alex, it's a case of there is no ballast penalty on Andy Birch. So he's really getting an advantage from this.
Yeah, also other drivers, Steve Johnson and also João Garapal, both tied 5th and 6th respectively on 41 points. Don't count them out either, because, I mean, effectively, we only have 4 drivers with ballast. The lowest placed of them is Pedro Cruelas Gomez in 8th position in the championship with 37 points. Looks to be a bit of a contretemps there between Francisco Valle Gonzalez and maybe Casey Lagarde, but I've just noticed that Casey Lagarde has actually gone P2, just 6/10 off of Spinelli, and Trehorn just under a 10th behind. Well, actually, looks like there's been a deleted lap time there for Casey Lagarde, which drops him down a little bit. Well, it looks like he's dropped off the server completely. Yeah. Apparently. So, yeah, I think realistically, I would not count out anybody from Birch, probably down to maybe even say Anton Valle Gonzalez, because the remainder of the top 10 are covered by just 14 points. That's from 4th to 10th position. So there is an opportunity for any one of those drivers to get themselves right into the championship fight tonight here at Adelaide, Jake.
There certainly is. Of course, it is worth noting that when a driver does exit the server here in R Factor 2, all of their times get wiped off as they leave the server. But when they do come back, their times will rejoin with them. So a little bit awkward for us trying to work out who's got pace and who's not got pace here at the moment at Adelaide. But it can sometimes just be a case that drivers just want to do their last double checks, especially for Lagarde. In fact, both Lagardes, you would say, doing exactly the same thing. And it's very important they do that check, Alex, because round 1 of the championship, both of them out with a DC, or a disconnection. So that would be the one thing they're looking at the very, very latest point of contention. Got to make sure that the internet's all, fine and dandy.
Yeah, just make sure it's not a Wi-Fi connection, but more an Ethernet connection, because that can be a bit of a downfall. We all know that pings on Wi-Fi connections can sometimes be, well, pretty much most of the time, rather unstable. With an Ethernet connection, you've got a direct hookup to your router. Things are a little bit easier to deal with. There's Giuseppe Gnazzo and also Samuel Rasoul, who were not with us last time out at Portimao, have now returned for round 3 of the championship, and it looks like Casey Lagarde has rejoined the server. So his best time of 1:24.589 gets reinstated, putting him ahead of Alex Trehorn as Silva Pinamets comes nylon sideways coming out of the final corner and heads towards the stripe and goes P3, 1 minute 24.612, and pretty good session from him. And it looks like things are coming to a close for free practice, I believe, Jake. I think the time is quickly running out.
Certainly is. Piamets then getting a fastest final sector of anyone. It seems like it is Alessio Spinelli in the middle sector, which is really putting the cat amongst the pigeons out there overall. And just to prove a point, he's just done the fastest middle sector of anybody right at the death of practice. So he's definitely got that in the back pocket. 5 seconds remaining then of practice to go before we will be flipping ourselves over towards qualifying and the big efforts that are going to be put in to try and put their cars on pole. But it is the number 67, which is very much car to beat at this moment in time, making that drive over towards the line. And that then is a 1:23.8 to finish things off, gains an extra 1/10 of a second to push things forward. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't subscribed already on YouTube or on Twitch, you have that chance to do so with us here with World Pro Racing. And of course, if you head over to worldproracing.com, you will have the opportunity to go look at some fantastic events that are coming up for people who are just starting out or who are veterans who want to get their big fix of quick racing. Alex, though, qualifying, and at a street circuit, a big T word comes out, and that is track position. I believe that we have a muted Alex. We can't hear him at this moment in time. So hopefully, just like that, we're all good.
My apologies there, Jake. Didn't want to do that unintentionally, of course. But yeah, the funny thing is that track position, if you get out in front of everybody on the field and get yourself out there, you're going to have clear air. You're going to be able to be the first one to really gauge the adherence of the tyres onto the track and obviously get the prime purchase. So that's going to be key. Qualifying is going to be crucial to tonight's event, as I said earlier. But we could have a drag race down, into the centre S's for the first time, and who knows, we could go 2 abreast. I've seen it 3 abreast before on R Factor 2.
It is also a very difficult place to go out in the opening laps. We talk about track position for qualifying. We also talk about it at the race because you've got a very narrow, effectively single file element. You can go too wide as you go through the centre S, but really, if you are going to be going through that section of track, Alex, you'd probably argue you want to be within the first 4 cars, really, to give yourself the best chance of survival and crucially, not check yourself up as you go through.
Yeah, you also don't want to bog down coming off the start phase, as we saw with Spinelli in the very first race, I think at Kyle Army. We saw that, and now this is where things get really, really interesting, because this could really change maybe the championship dynamic going into the next round at Silverstone in just a week's time.
It certainly can, and we've seen it so many times before. Drivers out there on track then looking to gear up. As Alex Strayhorn, we just see there making a little bit of contact with the barriers there going through turn 3, going onto that Wakefield straight towards Wakefield corner. And now you're starting to see here drivers really push out there at that level. But again, this is a short championship that we see, really, Alex. This is a 5-round championship. We're already halfway through, technically, at round 3 here of this championship. And what does that mean compared to everything else as they go out there and look for those times? Spinelli goes fastest in the first sector out of anyone. Well, it means that any small mistake that you make here today, it's got a big consequence which latches onto the back of your championship effort.
Yes, it does indeed, but also one of the other things is that we could see maybe some new names hit the podium, and thereby they get hit with the success ballast. So it sort of balances the ledger, but it's all dependent on who strikes first, and the person that's really looking to strike first is our current championship leader, Alessio Spinelli, who managed to get out in front of quite a few drivers. But interesting thing here, Jake, Pedro Cruz Gomez has yet to exit pit lane. Okay, we've still got 12 minutes on the clock remaining in qualifying, as Goncalves goes provisional pole with just under 12 minutes to go, 1 minute 25.658. But Spinelli looks to increase that benchmark, 1:24.0 already.
Already 1.6 seconds quicker than Goncalves, so a nice lap then to put things on the board. Pierre Metz there moving up into second position, at least for the moment, by Gonzalez jumping up. Worth noting that both Lagarde then out at this stage and not in server just yet, so they'll have work to do to get themselves in and ready for that. But Jörn Dix here making a charge for that final corner. Very easy to lock up and oversteer on the exit there. As you can see, the brake discs were glowing red hot going on through. And that's a great time by Jörn, moving up into P2 with the fastest final sector of anyone.
Yeah, up by 3/10. That's pretty impressive. Now, we obviously saw a really good fight back from the number 14 last time out, and he was battling away at points with Steve Johnson. So we could see what's happening. But again, look at Spinelli. He's up by a cumulative time of nearly 3.5 tenths of a second. I think we're going to be rather close to maybe a 1:23.5 if the way that Spinelli's manhandling that Alpine. He's literally on fire. He's just doing exactly what he needs to do, and no one seems to have an answer for him.
Goncalves moves up to second, 0.6 of a second down, but to the line. Take a look at this. It is a 23.551. What a wonderful lap there as he went on through. Carapo then into fifth on a 25.1. As at the moment it's Spinelli, Goncalves, Dix, Pierre Metz and Carapo at this stage. Stephen Johnson now looking for a good time. He's up in both his first and second sectors. Does struggle a little bit on the last sector. It's a 26.5 coming to the line, all things considered. Trehorn puts a 24.4 down on the board. 8 or nearly 9/10 of a second down at the moment. This is Spinelli's playground, it seems, at this moment in time.
It does indeed, and that's an absolutely blistering lap. And that's even with 15 kilos of ballast. He seems to have really gotten a handle on this Alpine, you know, halfway through the championship, leading by a mere, 7 points coming into this round ahead of Alex Trehorn, and Trehorn seems to be his nearest rival, but drivers are starting to improve as well. I mean, Darren Russell's just set a personal best in Sector 1, as he goes down the back straightaway, and yeah, it's just dependent on how much more Spinelli has got in that car, because we've got somebody on the side. Someone's done a Scott McLaughlin there, unfortunately, and that was coming out of turn 8. Whoops.
Yeah, big whoops. I believe it was Johnson potentially who was the one who got caught out, and that's another place you don't want to get it wrong. going out into the parklands once again at turn 11. That is a very difficult point to track because it does narrow up with the barriers, and Russell will take the Atlantic Motorsports machine down there into the pits. Natso moving up then into 12th with an improvement on time. The Valle Gonzalez brothers 9th and 10th at this moment in time in the qualifying that we've got right now. Very confusing. They've got the same number at this stage, but there is Johnson getting back out there again and looking for a little bit of help. And again, he's someone who's been caught out by that very, very difficult turn number 8 out on track. We've talked about how difficult it is, how you really need to be quick and aggressive as you go through that turn number 8. But at the same time, you get one little bit out of line, especially in a rear-wheeled car. It is almost impossible to save the rear end in a rear-wheel car at such a committed corner.
Yeah, and especially if it snaps out to either the left or the right-hand side, depending on whether you're going through a left or a right-hander. The minute the back end steps out, Jake, you're quite literally a passenger, and you've just got to hold on and brace yourself, and that's even true in the sim racing world. But also, if you do have the measure of the car, you have the car underneath you, that you know that you're capable of saving said moment. It's a case of it always being a 50-50, whether you're going to be able to save it or take a trip into the barriers, especially when we've seen that a couple of times already here tonight.
Yeah, definitely does seem that way. Trey Horn improves in the first sector at this stage, goes through the difficult turn 8, nice and narrow there through that line, using as much as he can, and up on his time in the second sector. The green times are representative to their overall lap times out there overall, not necessarily the fastest lap out there, and if they do get a faster sector of anyone, it will flash purple down there in the bottom right-hand side corner. Towards Foster's then, this is turn 13, and now Foster's of 14 here on the brakes. The very, very shallow final corner that you have to go through and make sure you get a good enough drive off of the exit. That is a 24.4, just fell away in the final sector, still improved by half a tenth, but that really did fall away late.
Yeah, it did indeed. It seems like Trey Horn is struggling in the final sector, and that can be rather unsettling for a driver that's trying to close up on Spinelli. But they do say that times are for show, points are to go, and that's going to be very true this evening. That Trey Horn wants... You know, I think he wants to be in striking distance of Spinelli. There's only 3 kilos of ballast differential between them, Jake. And that could make all the difference if Trey Horn manages to get the car to bite into the tarmac off the start line when the lights go out and when we go green. And then, you know, Spinelli will have to react accordingly. They'll both have to get the jump on each other to try and see who's going to go into the centre chicane first out of the pair of them. But we have seen it before where Spinelli was very open after the round at Portimao, where Trey Horn won it and said, you know, I had one opportunity, it didn't quite work out, and I think now that Spinelli's fired up to get the upper hand on Trey Horn going into, you know, the business end of the season.
Yeah, and we are in that business end as Birch moves up then into P5. Just behind, it's looking very, very close actually. 2nd to 6th, they're just split by 0.3 of a second out there, as there goes Jörn Dix out there onto a representative lap. In fact, he's just gone up into 4th position with that one, so a very good time by Jörn, moving himself ahead of Goncalves. There is Birch in the Rhineland Birch Racing car, or the Rhineland Birch Racing car I should say, is there just clubbed at the wall a little bit then, going through the East Terrace, and that is more than a clobber coming out of Hutt Street. That is a full-on smash into the wall. Anton Valle Gonzalez looking for a bit of time, and first times coming in from the Lagardes on the board. One Lagarde going up into 3rd, the other down there at this stage a little bit further down the order. Didn't quite catch where that is, 8th place. So it seems like the Lagardes as well, they feel like they're up for this one, and why wouldn't they be at this stage? Vance in 8th and Casey in 3rd.
Yeah, Casey was pretty quick in free practice, ending up P2, just 0.6 off of Spinelli, so it looks like we could have another driver that might be gunning for the front row. Now, considering the fact that Casey Lagarde has no ballast at all, it's not had the best run of results this season so far at both Kyle Army and Portimao. We've got a yellow out in Sector 3. Advanced Lagarde. Personal best in Sector 2. As now he makes his way through to the latter part of the circuit. Now going through in towards Foster's corner very shortly. And ends up aborting that lap. So must have felt that the latter part of it might not have been to his exacting standards and decides to pull the Alpine into the pits.
Yeah, no surprises. They're very narrow pits if anyone goes into it. Of course, there's no obligation to do that over the course of 30 minutes of racing, but it is one which has caught drivers out. Of course, famously, David Coulthard was one that got things all shooken up through that section. No improved time for Alessio Spinelli then, so he will abandon that and go back to the pits, look to gear up again. But already we're down to 3 minutes left here in qualifying. Spinelli, Trehorn, Lagarde, your top three as things stands. Down at the bottom, there is Trev Sharp. He's really struggling around this place, but he is improved on his first two sectors so far, and he's got to stay within about, I would say, a tenth if he wants to try and get himself there to Rasul, because he's got not much of a margin here compared to your leader Spinelli, and as such it is a 28.2. Does improve, but still needs another 1.3 second.
Yeah, there's Anton Valle Gonzalez up in Sector 1, personal best, and bumps over the curbs going down Bartels Road before heading towards the fast right-hander here at turn 8. 2 minutes and 20 seconds still to go in the session as everyone looks to be getting their best lap times in, hopefully, as they... Oh, now that was a bit of a glance on the wall. Whoever that was behind Anton Valle Gonzalez going through turn 8, as that was more than likely, looks to be the 21, that's of Trev Sharp. And I did see a little bit of a tail-happy moment from the Alpine not that long afterwards. But still, Valle Gonzalez losing a lot of time in Sector 2, but can the number 79 have a bit more of an opportunity to get a better position than P12 at the moment? Crosses the stripe, stays P12.
Stays P12. It was in fact not Sharp behind there, but more rather Russell who ran into troubles. Lagarde up in 1 and 2 sectors, and then to the line puts a 24.5 down, all fell away in that final sector, and it seems so innocuous as you go through that final sector for just how much you need to go out there and attack it, but at the same time you can so easily lose time. It's all about flow and momentum. You've got those two braking zones there at what is 11 and at 14, which really do make the difference.
Yeah, and Casey Lagarde up in Sector 1. He's gone faster than anybody, but that lost whatever time that was, 27 thousandths quicker than Spinelli in Sector 1. He lost all that time and then some through the second part of it. So I think if Casey Lagarde had held that together, Jake, he might have had a shot at maybe going for the front row. But whether he still can is anyone's guess, because he's done a personal best in Sector 2, a 27.1, which is quite a considerable amount off of Spinelli on the previous lap. But all he needs to do... No, he loses the back end, that's it. I think that lap's aborted.
That lap's gone, but he'll still need to rush for the line here because they are down to the final 10 seconds now here in qualifying. Will Casey Lagarde get one more attempt? He's going to be really rushing through this final corner, taking all of the life out of the tyres. There's the checkered flag. He's not going to get there, and that's going to really hurt because he was on it twice in a row looking for that time, didn't get there. Still the Piamets then looking for a bit of improvement, and Pedro Crulash Gomez fastest in the first sector out of anybody at this stage and searching for a bit of time. Spinelli's down there already in the pits, feels comfortable with a 7/10 nearly margin. Johnson has just moved up then into 12th position overall with his time, but Crulash Gomez, he is there in the middle sector, only lost himself a 1/10 of a second. He's up by half a 1/10 heading into this final section of road here, going over towards turn 11 here, this tough 90-degree left-hander, and now through 12 and 13, transfer corners you would put at this stage, but it looks like as he goes on through that he has slowed it down. Maybe he's run himself out of fuel coming to the line, and that would be an incredible shame then as that lap has to go. Giuseppe Gnazzo moves up then into 12th place, leapfrogs Johnson there with that time, and that will pretty much do that then in terms of qualifying. A real shame. Pedro Crulash Gomez looked like he was on an absolute worldie, but in the end, it is Spinelli's Wonderland here at this moment when it comes to action with you, with World Pro Racing and your Alpine GT4 Championship. We're going to step aside, though, for just a couple of moments here when it comes to the action being brought to you today. There's more coming up after this. Stay with us for 30 minutes of pure sim racing action. Championships have ebbs and flows, and you would argue at this moment in time we have hit one of the biggest flows from 1 week over towards the next. Alessio Spinelli with a dominant qualifying display, putting it up there by multiple tenths of a second, over half a second. It was nearly 7 tenths by the end of qualifying. Jake Sperry, of course, Alex Goldschmidt alongside me. But Alex, the key there towards the end was Pedro Crulash Gomez having an absolutely fantastic 2 laps, or 2 sectors, I would say, going through on his final attempt. But someone forgot to put enough fuel in the tank to finish the lap off.
Yeah, seems like the fumes have been siphoned up, and then obviously it was no bueno for Pedro Crulash Gomez there. So unfortunate, because we could have seen Crulash Gomez a bit further towards the sharper end of the field. That's probably where he would have wanted to be, but I mean, standout performance for Casey Lagarde, getting it onto row 2 in 3rd position. So, you know, we're now seeing this ballast come into play. Spinelli has been absolutely dealing his hands like no tomorrow on the blackjack table today, even with 15 kilos of success ballast. If he takes another victory, that's going to put him on 24 going into Silverstone. And Silverstone is a circuit that bites and bites hard with its fast-flowing complexes and long straightaways, and that could put him at a disadvantage. But it's a case of seeing what he can make the best of it tonight here at Adelaide.
And the best of it is found right here with us. If you haven't had the chance already, you can like, share and subscribe for more amazing content brought to you by the team here at World Pro Racing. They gear off for their 1 pace lap. Then they go through a formation lap to work everything out. There is the starting grid for you. Alessio Spinelli on pole position with Alex Strayhorn alongside Casey Lagarde and Pedro Crulash Gomez, 3rd and 4th position on the grid as things stands. Great run today for Rhineland Birch Racing. Jörn Dix there in 5th, Alex Goncalves 6th, and Andy Birch, of course, 4th in the championship, 7th, with a first start for Silver Piamets there, the Latvian, in 8th place. France Lagarde starts 9th with João Carapo down there in 10th position. Would have hoped for a little bit more with Francisco Valle Gonzalez and Giuseppe Nazzo there 11th and 12th. That follows on Stephen Johnson with Anton Valle Gonzalez, Darrell Russell, Samuel Rasool there in 16th, and one more driver added on to the mix as well. Trev Sharp having struggles here today in qualifying to get everything nicely sorted out together. But Alex, they have themselves just this 1 lap to figure out where they need to be, and the big key on these sorts of laps is to make sure you get temperature in the tyres and temperature in the brakes.
Yeah, that's ultimately crucial, because you want to make sure that your car is fighting fit and ready to go racing. And especially you want to make sure that when you get to that part of the starting grid that you're going to be starting from, to be positioned correctly in that box, and also making sure that when the sirens go off and we get the countdown for the green flag to be waved at the back of the field to signify the start of racing, it is about nailing the start, making sure that the revs and the clutch biting point are at exactly the right specification that you need to get the perfect and explosive launch to get your way to the centre chicane first before everybody else.
And that will be worth keeping in mind. You can see it's some very tough grid stalls as well, as they will all look to try and get their marks hit. A little bit of reversing having to be done by Alessio Spinelli here to try and find his box, but you can see there's hardly anything in it as you try and figure out where to sit in the box. It looks like behind there, Pedro Crulash Gomez didn't look too happy with box placement. Sorry, no, that would be... no, definitely not. So, not good at all then in terms of the start. But these drivers know what they need, and they know they need a good launch off the front. Worth noticing, it's the drivers with the even-numbered positions who have that great launch as they go through at South Australia's most premier circuit, you would argue. There go the horns. We're getting ready. 30 minutes worth of action. It starts right now. We look at Strayhorn. He's got an absolute monster launch off of the front row of the grid, and he will have the whole shot in towards the centre S. They fight behind for places. They look to scramble on through. Often you get a lot of drums as they get on through, but nicely worked. A great start as well for Giuseppe Nazzo there, and there's a spinner in the background then, and that's going to be huge carnage they went through. 3, maybe 4 drivers getting caught up in that. In fact, almost everyone in the back of the field got caught up.
5 cars I count there, Jake. Stephen Johnson, one of them. You've also got the number 5 of Samuel Rasool, amongst others. And we've had our first DNF. Vance Lagarde is out in the number 96. Oh, that was absolute carnage. That was very much reminiscent of a Repco Supercars opening lap here at the home of the Clipsal 500. You've got Silver Pyramids in that. You've also got Darrell Russell, I believe, down at the bottom of the field. But yeah, biggest casualty. We're down to 16 runners and riders. But that was a huge incident. I think it looks like Steve Johnson actually got turned around and then everyone just went barreling through and they had nowhere else to go.
Exactly, it's like a final coming out there of the Wakefield corner, turn 3, as this race will continue on. Trehorn in control at the front, Spinelli in second, it's Krulash Gomez third, and then Lagarde in fourth. Already, these drivers have themselves about 5.5 seconds here of margin out there at this moment in time. So they've got a really nice bit of work here as they look to try and push on forward with their race and just deal with each other. Now Spinelli here looks like he had a really great qualifying set, but immediately Krulash Gomez, who proved that he had the pace, penalty coming in then for Silver Pyramids, who looked like to be the catalyst then for that lap 1 incident. Safety car is out. Worth keeping in mind, we've got a safety car here for that incident, so drivers will now line themselves up behind the pace car after a big incident then off of the start. We do have a safety car, but what is key is that at least for the early goings of this race, that will not bother one Mr. Alex Trehorn one bit here, Alex, because he gets to tick off laps like there's no tomorrow.
And also, one more prominent factor there, apart from ticking off the laps, Jake, will be the fact that they'll be able to conserve fuel. So if someone has decided to look at that window of opportunity of literally just putting enough to get the car across the finish line, that's now saved their bacon a little bit, as Silver Pyramids is in the pits for serving that drive-through. But yeah, this gives Trehorn the opportunity he needs, but what it also does is that Spinelli has that gap closed courtesy of that incident, which I think in some respects has saved his bacon a little bit.
Well, certainly has. So with that incident in mind, then everyone just slows it on down. There have been some good gainers off of the opening couple of laps then as they look to figure things out. Of course, the safety car period as well does something else. It means that drivers who do have a bit of damage will have that ability to dive down into the pits if they should so need it, to get it checked out and see if they can get anything repaired and do the old NASCAR sticky tape, which is out there to give themselves as much as they possibly can. But Alex Trehorn leads. It's Alicia Spinelli in second and Pedro Krulash Gomez's third position overall. It seems like we are going to be having a little bit of an issue here trying to get a replay of the start, but ultimately fastest lap bonus, Andy Birch has got it at 1:42.7. We didn't expect to see that in terms of a fastest lap overall out there racing right now here, Alex, but a 1:42 is the fastest lap, and I believe that does warrant a couple bonus points right now.
Yeah, I think you're completely right there, Jake, in terms of the laps. I'm just going to actually have a look. Yeah, 5 points for fastest lap. So that could actually help Andy Birch in terms of the championship standings very, very nicely thereof. And that would actually put him level beggings with Alex Goncalves in the number 2, who's currently in 6th behind the number 14 of Jörn Dix. So, yeah, I think... yeah, that's nicely changed things there, hasn't it?
It certainly has, but of course, we haven't seen a representative lap time around this circuit, so with everyone searching for those said times, a case of fast lap isn't going to do much. Retirement then for Silver Pyramids after the penalty is effectively going to have that one wiped out of his race, which puts Stephen Johnson there at the back of the pack now in 15th position. I would say field is neutralised at this point, and the question will be, well, how good of a get-go are we going to see? And of course, that pace car, that Corvette, leading everybody forward and keeping everyone in mind. Of course, the safety boards are flashing, the yellow flags out there with the safety car markers as well. No indication as of yet whether the safety car is going to be diving down into the pits, so we'll go at least one more lap behind the safety car, and this is going to be a little bit nerve-wracking here for those at the front. Trehorn, Spinelli, Krulash, Gomez, Lagarde and co, because you sit and wait for that race to start, and you know you've got 30 minutes, and all of a sudden your laps are now 2 minutes, 3 minutes long, and it's just a little bit more laborious, and you're waiting, you get those nerves that go through. Alex, drivers are all about trying to keep calm under that pressure, but the pressure here is a silent one. Nobody's done anything so far in this race up there at the front because they've all been stuck behind a safety car. Now, when that safety car does decide to come down into the pits, at what point does this become a very, very scary reality for drivers? Oh, we're racing, and we get a little bit more drama out there on the table.
I think the first person that's going to feel the heat under the collar is going to be Alex Trehorn, because he'll be the one that will be the benchmark, but he will effectively become the de facto safety car before they go racing once again. So the minute he's got to time it right, he's got to wait and just see if he catches Spinelli napping. We know what Spinelli's like, and you see the distance between the pair of them. It's less than a car length at the moment, and then there's a little bit of distance back to Pedro Cruz Gomez in third place. We have had another DNF, unfortunately, as Silva Pyramids after serving that pit stop, and I've just been informed that it was Vance Lagarde that actually caused the incident. So he not only caused the incident, he managed to cause himself a DNF on the spot, and yeah, that's a real shame because that would have been terminal damage for the Alpine. But yeah, Trehorn's the one that's got to really keep calm, got to keep cool, and just make sure that he nails the throttle when it absolutely warrants it, and Spinelli's got to be quick to respond.
It looks like now's the key. Pace car being given a lot of a gap. They'll dive down in, and Trehorn here looking to be aggressive almost immediately here. Pace car dives down into the lane. Trehorn very aggressive through that final corner. 22 minutes and under 30 seconds remaining in this race. We are back to green flag running here at the Adelaide Street Circuit as they make their way through. A good getaway there by Alex Trehorn, was sensing the issues out there. Top three were really switched on. It was Lagarde who really was not going on through, and there's Giuseppe Niazzo in all sorts of troubles there with João Carapo just by trying to go through, and that is Alessio Spinelli, championship leader in the wall, and he's caught, I believe, Dix in that as well.
Oh my goodness, and he's got to wait. Oh, there's Rasul coming in as well, and he's literally nigh on slightly T-boned, so Spinelli's championship. Oh, he's lost a left front wheel. That means he's going to be out of the race.
No points. No points for retirement, so Spinelli completely out of this race. No front wheel. Goodbye to that one then as they go through. There is where Jörn Dix is. He's now in 11th position overall, so a massive shake-up for the championship as they will head to Silverstone 1 week from now. So there's some side-by-side. Trev Sharp getting it all wrong. Someone else behind there just glancing against the wall there. I think that was Russell there going through turn 8 as they go into the Quetterville hairpin. And just like that, there goes Dix having a huge slide then going through. And thank you very much. Stephen Johnson is going to pick up both of those.
Yeah, I mean, two glances from two respective cars. That would have been Sharp and Johnson that both actually tagged the wall as Alex Trehorn starts extending a lead over Pedro Cruz Gomez. Steve Johnson keeping Jörn Dix at bay as they go. And the back end of the number 14 goes a bit tail happy to the left-hand side, but they're both side by side going into the centre chicane. And Steve Johnson might have to run, or they tangle all sideways. Oh my goodness. Carnage aplenty here at Adelaide. It's all gone wrong, and Darrell Russell's had a bit of an off-track excursion, and here comes Samuel Russell to pick up the pieces.
Massive dramas then as they went through. In the end, it's a mess between Dix and Johnson as they go on through. Niazzo is the one who will be the most happy out of anyone. He's up into 6th position now with all of the tangles that we have seen. Trehorn leads, Crulash Gomez in second, and look at Pedro Crulash Gomez go as he wants to try and attack Alex Trehorn at the front. Lagarde is third, Goncalves there in 4th position, a little bit further back. Vinelli is now in the lane, has managed to pilot 3 wheels on the wagon down into the pits,
But 20 minutes to go, and Alex Trahorn now will be looking behind a little bit more concerned. 5th, 6th and 7th very much in the battling at this stage. Birch, Natso and Carapo all there, but Trahorn now is going to have to cover his 6 at every opportunity with the way that Pedro Crulash Gomez is clearly running with pace.
Shout out to Casey Lagarde, keeping it nice and planted in 3rd position. 3.5 seconds off of this battle as they go hurtling their way. I mean, Crulash Gomez was getting some serious air coming through the centre chicane, just absolutely launching the Alpine. I think Alex Trahorn knows that this is his opportunity to really extend that championship lead, and that car from Alessio Spinelli looking rather stationary, as you said. 3 wheels on that wagon, and that wagon is not going anywhere, and that looks to be more than likely going to be our 3rd DNF out of 17 competitors, as Steve Johnson and Trev Sharp going toe-to-toe, side by side, and this is heading towards the double right-hander here at Hutt Street before going on to Bartels Road. Giuseppe Ganazzo and Joao Carapau battling on their way down into turn 8, and right in front, Joao Carapau slots in neatly in front of Giuseppe Ganazzo going into turn 8. I mean, that was absolutely brilliantly done by Carapau there.
It certainly was. You needed coordination through that section, and coordination, he got a good lift from Natso. He wasn't going to fight it there, but now look at this next pack that goes through. Really feisty behind Samuel Rasul. Right now as Diggs searching for the inside, gets very close then, just tapping the rear a little bit then, going on forward, and then you've got Russell, then you've got Vaya Gonzalez, all trying to figure out a way forward here, with these 4 all very closely sandwiched together, and Rasul is making sure that he has the widest machine in all of Adelaide's parks right now. That's a bit aggressive down the inside. They make contact together, and look at that, 3 wide off the exit as they head towards turn 1. Diggs backs out of it a little bit, and also now losing out will be Russell as Vaya Gonzalez now sticks a nose down the inside.
Yeah, this is getting rather close between this quartet as that's definitely 2 off behind. That was more than likely. Yeah, that was Russell. I think, no, Vale Gonzalez. So, yellow flags out again. Spinelli's car's been in the pits for well over 3 minutes now, and that car's not going anywhere. And I think, a little bit of a tangle for Samuel Rasul in the wall there. I did say about making sure that you're pretty precise around this circuit, and we've seen already that Pierre Metz, Vance Lagarde and Alessio Spinelli all have come a bit of a cropper this evening, and that has really played into the hands of Alex Trahorn. And to be honest with you, now that Pedro Crulash Gomez is closing in and is less than 4 tenths behind, as we've got 16 minutes and 40 still to go, Trahorn, he doesn't necessarily need to win the race, but if he keeps ahead of Crulash Gomez, he'll have earned those points well and truly. But second isn't too shabby, because that gives him the championship lead.
It certainly does give him the championship lead. Either which way that you look at it right now, as Jørn Dix dropping down the order then, it seems a little bit, and getting himself back up against Russell, because look at that, as they all fight. There's Rasul in 11th, there's Dix in 12th, there is Russell in 13th, all fighting it out amongst each other at this stage as they make that run on towards turn number 1 and 2, the Senna S, as they go by. It's worth keeping an eye out though. Spinelli has had a stop, a 3-minute pit stop. They probably had to change the brake disc as well, as around the outside, getting it done on the run up to Wakefield corner there. That is a great move. Rasul also then losing out on the outside there to Russell with that great overtake. Worth noting, Spinelli is still in this race, albeit 2 laps down, as again Rasul grabs the wall coming out of the East Terrace. That's the same wall that Michael Schumacher hit. But what you'd also say at this point right now, Alex, is the fact that because Spinelli's 2 laps down, he's still scoring points.
Yeah, very much the case, because they'll get a couple of points for starting the race. That'll be 2 points there. And even if Spinelli finishes in P15, that's still 11 points. So 13 points could be in the bag for him. But that's still not going to deny the fact that Alex Trahorn at the particular moment in time, with the fastest lap of the race, and he's currently at the leader as it stands, as we're past the halfway point, so just under 15 minutes to go. Looking at the standings, just from this perspective, Spinelli would be on 92, and then Alex Trahorn would be on 111, going to Silverstone in just a week's time. So that's really going to change the dynamic of this. Krules Gomez will bring himself into the title fight. Casey Lagarde will rocket up the order in the standings because he's currently on the 19 points with a 17-point finish at Portimao. So Spinelli's got an opportunity. We've just had a drive-through penalty for the 85, I believe, which is Steve Johnson for an avoidable collision, and that was on car number 14, which would have been Jon Dix.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Trahorn's being kept rather honest by Krules Gomez, and I think this is very much a repeat of what we saw at Portimao between Spinelli and Trahorn.
Yeah.
And Krules Gomez is just going to bide his time and wait to strike whilst the iron's hot.
Yeah, and now you see that patience coming in from Pedro Krules Gomez. This is a case of just sitting down, being patient, waiting for the chance to come to him, more rather than going out and being aggressive. You've still got 13 minutes. You don't have to be the aggressor out there. It was lap 6 where we had that incident between Johnson and, of course, the 14 machine of Jon Dix. That was the one down into the Senna S where the penalty gets applied. But you can see on board with Pedro Krules Gomez, he's got a wonderful run onto Hutt Street, and now is exiting through turn 7, and on this back straight, he's going to be right underneath, but I'm not sure he's going to have that run through 8. He's got to step right underneath, or you might as well just go to the inside right now, just trying to get in the mirrors, use those scare tactics there. Everyone has it. Rule 101, your handbook, your easy guide to racing and making an overtake. You get in the mirrors, you make yourself large. Trahorn covering the line on the inside into the De Quetterville hairpin, but just like this, Alex Trahorn is firmly in a defensive scrap once again here with World Pro Racing.
Yeah, he's definitely soaking up the pressure as Alex Trahorn. He's not giving an opportunity to Pedro Krules Gomez, so if an opportunity doesn't present itself, sometimes you have to make that opportunity visible when the person in front least expects it. And as you said, Jake, that Pedro Krules Gomez is filling the rear view mirrors of Alex Trahorn. I mean, look how he just launches it over the curves again. And I'll be completely honest there, with the way that Krules Gomez was literally making that Alpine go skywards, he's got to watch himself on track cuts, as we've got a yellow out in Sector 3, but Andy Birch coming under fire from João Carapau.
Yeah, that'll be Trev Sharp in a bit of trouble then, as the front two find themselves moving forward, and it's a lot of trouble, it seems, for Trev Sharp. We're going to be unable to catch that one, I do believe. But Trahorn here is still finding himself with every element of opportunity here to just look behind again. Pedro Krules Gomez, looking in the mirrors as they head into 8. He's clipped the inside and he's clipped the wall on the exit as well. I think he's got away with one as he goes on through. I thought it was not looking very good, but ultimately it could have been so much worse as they went on forward there. So that will drop Krules Gomez back a little bit, and Trahorn will be looking behind in the mirror. It looks like Johnson now really dropping the time as well, as there is Rasul, and that is going to be Vaya Gonzalez in front, and that is Johnson exiting stage right out of the race then. There is Birch in 5th position, still in that fight, of course, with Carapau and Ganazzo, and this is a really interesting battle right now.
Yeah, not that much. It's about a second covering the trio at the moment. Ganazzo's losing a little bit of time to Carapau, but going into Foster's gets a bit more late breaky, does Giuseppe Ganazzo, but Andy Birch just able to stretch the legs on that car going through into the Senna chicane. You can just see the different lines that these guys actually pull. I've actually been informed that Vance Lagarde will get a 3-place grid drop for the next race at Silverstone in a week's time for that lap 1 incident that caused a bit of a carambolage, and it looks like our FIA accredited race director Adrian Figalo is also going to be sending some penalty information our way, reference competitors, as Andy Birch goes all 4 wheels up into the air.
He does, and Samuel Rasul dropping 2 places out to the final corner, and Carapau has got the move done as they make that run. The number 12 will get a drive-through penalty with 10 minutes to go, so Russell will be now handed a drive-through penalty as Carapazzo's done well. Ganazzo now diving late on the brakes down the inside. He's got to slow it up, though, and the Quetterville hairpin, and the brakes were glowing as he got it nicely stopped. I'm pretty sure the Anthill mob couldn't stop that with all of the many legs that they'd have going through there. So some wonderful work from Giuseppe Ganazzo, who has really stood out after a good start, avoiding the incident. He's now up into 6th position, doing a wonderful, wonderful job. But, has to be a big but, we'd say, at this moment in time. Still on for the race lead, and it's also closing up for 3rd place as well. Trahorn defending himself then into Wakefield Corner at turn 4. And now you start to wonder here if this is a race for 1st and 2nd and a race for 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, also Steve Johnson has DNF'd as both Trahorn and Krulash Gomez go bumping their way over the curbs, as Casey Lagarde has Alex Goncalves behind him to the tune of about 0.8 of a second as they come out of Hutt Street and now go down Bartels Road. And Lagarde looks to be getting away as the 2 leaders go through turn 8 down the Brabham straightaway before the De Ketterville hairpin. And Trahorn again goes on the defensive. Krulash Gomez uses a little bit of a wider turn in aspect to try and get a bit more momentum carry going through, as they're now going to head through into the final couple of corners and then through into Foster's, which will put them on the main start-finish straight. And Trahorn just absolutely sending that car over the apex curbs through Foster's. And now, out of the final corner, if anyone might remember when Scott McLaughlin did a number on Jamie Whincup a few years ago, when the Kiwi debuted for Jerry Rogers Motorsport in the Volvo S60, it's getting rather close through the centre S's. Krulash Gomez is not giving up, and we still have just under 8 minutes remaining on the clock.
Alex Trahorn is driving in the middle of the road, and that is really going to hurt him if he can't find confidence. He's only defending the corners he needs to. You can see no defence going up East Terrace into Flinders Street, and now towards Hutt Street they come along next, and you can see Pedro Krulash Gomez is trying to really maximise this apex here to go out there and attack, and if he can get himself an overlap, this is where he's going to try and pick this up, potentially. You got Birch now back there in 6th position. He'll be looking back at that. So a yellow flag out there in Sector 2 temporarily there for somebody as they go through. Look at this, nose to tail. And that is the reason why that would have been Trev Sharp that they would have just got by there going through. And that very nearly, sorry, no, that was Alicia Spinelli that they had to get around, and that very nearly ended in tears for both of them as they went through. Some great heads-up driving there because they were full beans going through that section of road.
Yeah, going through turn 8, the one thing that you don't want is someone on that racing line, as Casey Lagarde really feeling the heat under the collar from Alex Goncalves. And still for P3, they're still battling away like a pair of petulant children battling for the last swing in the playground. But Casey Lagarde looks to have locked up a little bit going into Foster's, gets back onto the apex, back on the power coming out of the corner. And Alex Goncalves not letting him breathe, as Alex Trahorn still has soaked up all this pressure from Pedro Krulash Gomez. They've got another back marker just up ahead. Got a feeling that could be Darryl Russell very shortly that they might catch up to. So now lap traffic is getting into is another added part of this equation here. Jake, is Darryl Russell and Samuel Russell battling away over 11th.
They are, so it will be Trev Sharp that will be the catch. There is Russell doing just enough then to defend going through. We've seen him have a few moments out there on track, but at least for the moment, you can see just how much he's defending it here through turn 13. And oh, there's contact. Russell was diving for the pits anyway, trying to get himself down in. So Russell then will take a stop, and that will be for his penalty as he goes through. And there is Trev Sharp getting a little bit squirrely through the corner, and he'll soon have to cede the places here to these two, Trahorn and Krulash Gomez. At what point, though, does he, is going to be the real question that we keep our eye out on here at this moment. There is Giuseppe Ignazzo, all out of shape, and thank you very much, says Andy Birch. He'll get that one done then at the De Quetterville hairpin. Not often that we've seen a move done down there so far today, but a move is a move is a move, and it's going to have to be out of the centre S where we see this one really ignite and open. And Krulash Gomez, well, he's not going to be able to really gain much, but it is defended here. He will be on the outside. 5 minutes to go, trying the long way around, and there was no room at the end there as he tried to get through.
Pedro Cruz Gomez, every which way but loose is where he's trying to get that car, and at the moment Alex Trahorn is not giving that window of opportunity to the number 43 at the moment as they come through out of Hutt Street and down Bartels Road once again, head towards turn 8. And because they're bumping so hard over those exit curbs there, Jake, it's unsettling both cars. So Trahorn being compromised, but then it compromises Cruz Gomez, who gets a real good run of momentum coming through turn 8. Going down the Brabham straightaway once again to the Ketterville hairpin. It's only in the braking zones that Cruz Gomez seems to get a bit more of an advantage, but Casey Lagarde still battling away. Oh, Goncalves glances the barriers coming out of turn 8, but got away with that one.
Just about. So Casey Lagarde is doing all the right things. Goncalves trying to be aggressive, knows that there's about 4 seconds back to Carapo, doesn't want to be throwing away that 4th position right now because there will still be some really strong points with that finishing position. With Johnson's retirement as well, it will put Spinelli up now to 14th, so an extra couple points in the back pocket there for Alessio as he goes through. But now you started to see the mistakes coming in on the board, and you'd say now that Goncalves here just pushing a little bit too hard out there. Again, a little think to the natural line. Trahorn's really defending this. He's really compromised himself. A little bit, you would say, of Indiana Jones and defender of the lost corner as he went on through. And you'd argue that Pedro Cruz Gomez is really just unable to find any road to capitalize on these compromising driving styles that Alex Trahorn's taking.
Yeah, it's a case of time is fast running out. The sand timers will be extinguished very, very soon. But you can see now that Cruz Gomez has got the headlights on. Now that is the ultimate scare tactic that he's going to try and put the frighteners on Alex Trahorn going down the Brabham Straight. And with just under 3 minutes to go, Cruz Gomez now knows that time is fast not on his side. And Trahorn is just doing exactly what he needs to do. He might be struggling at times on the circuit as well. Cruz Gomez gets very, very close to the barriers there. Probably nigh on glanced it, but the way he's been fighting Trahorn, I think a little bit of desperation and a bit of frustration might be seeping in with Pedro Cruz Gomez, who wants to get that victory.
Just got to maximise every element of his race. He knows Trahorn is defending hard. He knows that Alex Trahorn is liable to make a mistake if he continues to push like this. He's got 2 laps to figure it out, and this is going to be a tough, tough battle between these two. It's also not going to be over 4th and 5th with Goncalves and Carapo as well. But again, in towards Flinders Street they head, and if you're going to be brave, you've got to really set it up. And Pedro Cruz Gomez is looking every which way to try and pick it up. You can see he's going all the way to the tyres there on that turn, and he's looking to try and open up a run, and immediately you can see it's middle of the road driving here as they go through. They want to open up as much as they can. Cruz Gomez has got to be committed through turn 8 if he wants any chance here through turn 9 down at the Quetterville hairpin. He'll think about it. Look at that. Hard defense by Trahorn to the inside, but he's going to have no run. He's gone too deep. Cruz Gomez goes to the inside. Lap and a bit to go. He's got it almost.
Yeah, a little bit of rubbings racing right there. The pair still side by side, but Cruz Gomez nearly tags the barrier on the right-hand side, and he does a Scott McLaughlin a la Jamie Whincup, but Cruz Gomez is going to get the run going through. Oh, it's close.
Up and under, he's gone too deep, so Trahorn's going to get back through here on the inside. 1 lap to go here at Adelaide, and Trahorn has just been the coolest driver in a room full of pistol shooters as he goes through the left and the right. Look at how Cruz Gomez attacks it. He has got reckless abandon as he goes over those curves at the centre S and on towards Wakefield. Again, Trahorn is covering the inside line. You know Cruz Gomez isn't going for it there, but he's going to open up to the outside here as they go through. That will again compromise Alex Trahorn, but Cruz Gomez not in a position to attack. And once more, you've got to do exactly what you did on that last lap. But this time, you've got to make it stick sunshine if you're going to get this one sorted. Alex Trahorn has done everything correctly in this race. He has defended with everything he has got in that Alpine A110, and he's got a bit of a gap. He's got himself 4 tenths and a bit of breathing room heading in towards the Quetterville hairpin. It's no mistakes from here, and you'd say Trehorn is over and done with here with a little bit of sunshine to go with. He's got the hairpin absolutely perfect. Krulash Gomez now needs to find a miracle down at the Foster's hairpin. They go through back into that Victoria Park for the final time, to the final left-hander on this circuit. It's 2 rights that remain, and now where's the lunge? Big lunging look then from Krulash Gomez. He tries around the outside, but it was never going to happen. Alex Trehorn takes victory here at this wonderful race, and he does so by not very much at all. I'd say less than 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, just a fraction over between him and Pedro Krulash Gomez. Well done to Casey Lagarde. Best finish of the season and rounds out the podium. Alex Goncalves was in the hunt with the 69, trying to get on the final step of the rostrum, but Alex Goncalves in 4th. Joao Carapau and Andy Birch and Giuseppe Ganazzo ran at the top 7. And here's Anton Valle Gonzalez rounding out the top 8, making his way through into Foster's. But yeah, that battle between Trehorn and Krulash Gomez, I mean, that was a repeat of what we saw between Trehorn and Spinelli last time out at Portimao. And once again, Alex Trehorn, a 2-time winner so far this season.
Oh, he's done so very well to just keep himself nicely calm as they go through. There is your race winner, absolutely happy, and will take the championship lead to go along with that as well. And you would argue that the championship lead's the most important thing, not necessarily the race victory, but he had to earn it once again here today. Pedro Krulash Gomez, of course, how much here, Alex, will he be ruining that qualifying effort here today where he didn't have enough fuel for that final lap going forward?
Yeah, I think he'll learn from that and realise that for Silverstone you've got to have a bit more fuel in your tank, because effectively we're going to go to a circuit that is well over 1.5 miles longer, because Silverstone 3.660 miles is going to be a lot longer than what we've got here at Adelaide. So the driver's going to have to overcompensate a little bit and make sure that that fuel's in, but I'm sure that he'll dig deep, and we'll see what happens next time out in a week's time.
We certainly will here, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we got that coming up, of course, and the second round, which will be moving on forward of the GT4 Championship on Assetto Corsa Competizione here with us at World Pro Racing. That'll be coming up tomorrow, so make sure you keep your eyes out on that. But, Alex, I believe you've managed to jump in and find Casey Lagarde out there going forward, which has worked out very nicely with a 3rd place finish.
Yes, hi Casey, congratulations, 3rd in qualifying, rounding out the podium here at Adelaide. Kept out of trouble, kept things nice and clean, but a really good battle between yourself and Alex Goncalves in the latter stages.
I'm just happy that I was able to finish the race, and it's probably the furthest up I'm ever going to get in this series, but I'm just happy I was able to keep it on the black stuff and finish and keep Alex at bay. So I knew that I wasn't going to catch the front 2, so I just decided give up on that and just drive and just try to finish, and I did.
Yeah, Adelaide, a very, very tricky circuit to circumnavigate, as we all very well know. But looking ahead to next week at Silverstone, a very different set of circumstances, a fast-flowing, high-average speed circuit. Is that one that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I am actually looking forward to Silverstone a lot, because I like the circuit quite a lot. I liked it with the USFs when we raced there with the starter round for the USFs. And it was fun then, but we're doing a slightly different layout, but it's still going to be heaps of fun.
Well, Casey, finally, are there any shout-outs or any sponsors that you want to give mention for this evening?
I'd like to give a shout-out to my mum for supporting me through all my racing, online and offline, and my dad for racing with me on the series, and Matrix Motorsport.
Okay, Casey Lagarde, our 3rd place finisher. Jake, back over to you.
Yeah, I've managed to catch up with Pedro Crulas Gomez here, finished second position. Pedro, that will be frustrating in some respects, but really positive in others. You were right up there. You had the pace all day long. Would you argue that it was the qualifying lap at the end that you didn't manage to have enough maybe in the tank for, which means it's second instead of first today?
Thanks, guys. And first of all, thanks again for all of you that are working very nice on this championship, to World Power Racing, all the staff, Justin, Adrian on this, his director, Nathan, also everyone. I think is something starting here in RF2 in a way that I don't see other leagues are doing. So I see great future for WPR RF2 races. I am happy to be part on the beginning of it. And about the race, oh, what a race, man! For sure. I was until the half of the race. It was 11 minutes to the end. First, it was the first sim races that I do that we have a safety car on the track, and that was really nice to me because I am a real race car driver for 23 years, so I'm used to that, and it was nice. We see anytime that organization admins can make it more closer to reality. This is the way that the guys are doing here. They are very congratulate about the work. So when the safe car came, I was behind. I could make a good start and jumping from P4 to P3, and I knew that would be very, very hard to can keep the pace of Alessandro Spinelli, that he was a lot faster on quali. But I knew that I have a really good setup for the race. This was the first race that I could practice a lot and make the setup for warned user tires. So I was a lot surprised when after the restart Alessandro made that little mistake. He touched the wall and there was a gap to go inside, and unfortunately after I was inside he came back too late and had that crash that I don't like to win positions on that way, but that's racing. So I went behind Alex Trehorn, and when I see that I had the fast car maybe off the track, because I could reduce the gap very, very fast. But on a track like that, and a driver that would have good skills like Alex Trehorn, when I did 2-3 laps behind him, I think, oh my God, help me to find a gap to pass this guy, because it's gonna be really, really hard on this track, you know. So I managed to keep waiting. I touched the wall like 2-3 times, had damage on my car, and I don't know why the car didn't have lost speed. It kept good until the end, besides that touch. So when I found the gap because of a little late break of him, I don't remember what turn, and we were like 3-4 turns side by side, and the next turn that we will decide the position was that last turn to the right, the hairpin, and I did a total beginner mistake to overpass the braking, and then he won the position again, and the win is very well deserved for him. So congratulations, and I'm not sorry about the term, but piss off about my mistake, because I'm still a rookie. I still consider my driving a rookie and sim races, because I'm only 8 months I began, and on these high level races that are at maximum 4 months, so I'm learning a lot. I'm happy to be the opportunity to race with these high level drivers that are here, and that's it. My intentions here is to learn, and who knows, one time I can get on the level of them.
The intention very much to learn. Pedro Crulas Gomez there, finishing off in second position, and also apologies, ladies and gentlemen, if you have heard any maybe industrial language out there today. Alex Trehorn comes across with the race victory. Now, Alex, that you would say is a race that you will remember for a very long time. Not only did you have to spend a very long amount of time defending that race for a good 20 minutes from Pedro Crulas Gomez, but also you now take the championship lead with what happened to Alessio Spinelli. Just sum up your emotions as you
bring yourself down from what was a very intense and difficult race?
If I was to sum up my emotions, I would also get told off industrial language. I will say it was an amazing race, to be honest. Pedro, he was very quick and he was always on my back, and it was extremely fun to defend. It looks exciting and it feels it as well. And yeah, I don't know quite what happened to Alessio behind. I saw that he hit the wall and then I never saw him again. But yeah, terrific race from Pedro. He really pushed me all the way, and if he did get past me, he would have deserved to win.
Well, a definitely strong battle, but let's talk with about a lap and a bit to go. You had yourself side by side for about 4 or 5 corners from the hairpin at turn 9 all the way to the final corner. At that moment, you get yourself back into the race lead. Did you feel that over the course of the way that you were defending, that you were having to be very cautious, very patient with the way that you placed the car, and felt that you really didn't want to leave any opportunity open at any point?
I didn't, no. I was defending almost every lap, and it's when you're running or constantly defending the inside into the heavy braking, you almost lose sight of where the braking point is. So I always had to take that bit of extra caution, and yeah, that's about it.
Certainly has worked out for you, but let's talk next week, because it's Silverstone. It's very different, open, expansive, fast and flowing. Do you feel like now it's your championship that you're holding on to and it's yours to lose?
I don't know what the situation is, but obviously I've won the 2 races. Alessio's won 1. Gomez has been on the podium twice, so you know they're both threats still. And you saw how quick Spinelli was in qualifying, and he probably had the race pace to back it up, but I managed to get the jump at the lead, and then he had the incident. So maybe because I'm in the lead, it's mine to lose, but I don't think it's mine in any sense of the word.
Well, not yet anyway. We'll see after 2 more rounds of racing. Alex Trahorn there, your race victor overall. But Mr. Goldschmidt, final thoughts as we pack up here from a land down under, so to speak, and we head back to the home of British motorsport at Silverstone.
Championship still wide open, Jake. I'm looking forward to this actually being decided at the very final round in a couple of weeks' time at Road America. You know, two different winners from the first 3 races. Casey Lagarde getting a podium this time around. Pedro Cruz Gomez, apart from his industrial language, of course, very, very quick. Kept Alex Trahorn guessing all that way through. Kept us both on the edge of our seats. I'm looking forward to next week at Silverstone.
I certainly am as well. I'm also looking forward to Mega Sprint Tuesdays and the Duo Series, which goes along here, of course, with us at World Pro Racing. Make sure that you head over to www.worldproracing.com/events to make sure that you keep yourself up to date with all of the sim racing action and any events that you at home would like to enter yourself into. Of course, we couldn't get it done without the team here behind the scenes. Of course, to Adrian Fagayo and George Muscat, the chief stewards, Justin and Nathan Mifsud, who have been on the cameras here today, bringing all of the action. And of course, we have been live on YouTube, Facebook Live, and on Twitch. If you haven't had the chance already, you can like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content brought to you by us here at World Pro Racing. But also, we have been with TVM Sport, with Motorsport.tv, and with ESTV, the Esports Television Network. From, of course, Alex Goldschmidt alongside me, myself, Jake Sperry. It has been a pleasure bringing you action again. And my goodness, what a titanic fight between Trahorn and Cruz Gomez. It was one which came down to the wire. Every single corner was fought for tooth and nail. And I tell you what, when it comes to Silverstone, the door was left wide open by Alessio Spinelli. Trust me, this is going to get a little bit closer, as this championship, my goodness, far from over. We'll see you a week from now, the home of British motorsport, and some would say the home of British sim racing, as we head to Silverstone 1 week from now.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.